Look around you. The world is filled with men who chase what is not theirs, who believe that happiness lies in what belongs to another. They whisper, they scheme, they justify their actions with illusions of love or destiny. And yet, in the end, they are left with nothing but regret. We often deceive ourselves about the nature of what we desire. The belief that other people's wives are easily available is one such deception. It is a mirage, a trick of the mind that arises when we allow ourselves to be ruled by impulse rather than reason. What appears to be within reach is not always so, and even when it is, the price is often far greater than we are willing to acknowledge. Consider this. If a man sees a locked chest in the middle of a marketplace, does he assume it is his to take, simply because it is within his grasp? Does the mere fact that it is in front of him mean it is open for him to claim? No rational person would think this way, and yet, when it comes to desire, men often abandon logic. They mistake accessibility for permission, proximity for possession. In truth, the idea that another man's wife is easily available is nothing more than a failure to see the full picture. A woman who entertains the advances of another man while married may appear to be within reach, but one must ask, what has made her this way? Is it a lack of virtue in her, or is it a lack of stability in her relationship? Is she truly available or merely lost? And more importantly, if she betrays one man, what makes you believe she will not betray another? The wise man understands that most of what he desires is not what it seems. He recognizes that fleeting pleasures carry unseen burdens. The momentary excitement of pursuing what is not his clouds his judgment, making him blind to the chaos that follows. He does not see the damage done to his own soul, the guilt that lingers, the destruction left in the wake of selfish actions. He does not see how he becomes weaker each time he gives in to such illusions, how he loses control over himself in pursuit of what was never his to begin with. Think of the men who have allowed themselves to fall for this illusion. They speak of passion, of love, of fate pulling them toward another man's wife. They tell themselves that they have found something real, something worth pursuing, something that belongs to them by right, and yet, what becomes of them? Their moments of indulgence turn into lifetimes of regret. They're forced to lie, to sneak, to justify their actions to themselves and to others. And in the end, what do they truly gain? A temporary thrill at the cost of their own peace, a brief moment of satisfaction that leaves behind a trail of suffering. A man ruled by desire is a man who is easily manipulated. He sees something he wants and believes it must be his. He mistakes availability for destiny, assuming that because an opportunity exists, it must be seized. But the wise man does not think this way. He sees temptation for what it is, a test, a challenge, a moment in which he can either prove his strength or expose his weakness. If you were to walk through a marketplace and see a merchant offering you gold for a handful of dust, would you not suspect a trick? Would you not question why something so valuable is being given away so cheaply? And yet, when a man sees another's wife seemingly available, he does not question what is wrong with the situation. He does not stop to consider that what is easily gained is often worth little, and what is given too freely is often a trap. A wise man does not allow himself to be fooled by appearances. He knows that the things that seem effortless often bring the most pain. He does not pursue what belongs to another, not because he lacks the ability, but because he values himself too much to fall for the illusion. He understands that real strength comes not from taking what is easy, but from resisting what is tempting. Ask yourself, would you respect the man who takes from others because it is easy? Would you trust the man who cannot control his own desires? If the answer is no, then why become that man yourself? Why let yourself be deceived by the illusion of availability when true power lies in self-control? A man who is ruled by his impulses is a man who is owned by the world, but a man who sees through temptation, who recognizes illusion for what it is, who remains unmoved by what is not his, he is truly free. He does not chase what belongs to others because he knows that real strength lies not in taking, but in mastering oneself. Desire is a strange force. It thrives on what is forbidden. A man rarely longs for what he can easily have. Instead, his mind fixates on what is just beyond his reach. The more something is off limits, the more it calls to him. He mistakes this longing for love, passion, or fate, but in truth, it is nothing more than a trick played by his own undisciplined mind. Consider how often people value something simply because it is scarce. Gold, though just metal, is treasured because it is not found in abundance. The same is true of desire. When a man sees another's wife, he is not simply drawn to her beauty or character. He is drawn to the idea that she is not his. He believes that if she belonged to him, she would bring happiness. He convinces himself that her husband's possession of her makes her more valuable, as if her worth is increased by her inaccessibility. But the moment she becomes his, the illusion shatters. She is no longer rare, no longer a mystery, no longer a conquest. And so his desire fades. This is the nature of the undisciplined mind. It does not seek love, nor companionship, nor virtue. It seeks the thrill of obtaining what is denied. But the thrill is temporary, and once the chase is over, discontentment returns. Many men fall into this trap, believing they are searching for something meaningful, when in reality, they are only chasing shadows. It is foolish to think that because a woman is married, her attraction to another man is proof of deep connection or hidden destiny. Some believe that if she is willing to betray her vows, it must mean she was never truly meant to be with her husband. But such thinking ignores a simple truth. If she can betray one man, she can betray another. If she is drawn to you today, she may be drawn to another tomorrow. Her actions are not proof of your significance in her life, they are proof of her nature. The wise man does not allow himself to be deceived by such illusions. He sees that what he desires is not love, but conquest. He recognizes that novelty always fades, and that what seems exciting today will become ordinary tomorrow. He understands that his emotions are unreliable guides, pulling him toward what he should resist. If a child reaches for fire, thinking it to be a beautiful light, do we not stop him? Do we not tell him that what appears alluring can also destroy? And yet grown men act no wiser than children when they pursue what is not theirs. They see only the beauty of the flame, not the burns it will leave. A man who is controlled by desire does not own himself. He is ruled by external forces, by the sight of a woman, by the feeling of temptation, by the illusion of something better. He cannot be trusted even by himself because he does not know when he will next be led astray. The moment he allows himself to believe that another's wife is meant for him, he is already lost. Not because the world will punish him, but because he has shown that he lacks mastery over his own mind. True strength is not found in pursuing pleasure, it is found in resisting it. The man who is indifferent to temptation is not lacking in opportunity. He is rich in self-control. He is the only one who understands that the desire for the forbidden is a weakness, a flaw in thinking that must be corrected. He does not see another man's wife as an object to be won, but as a test to be passed.
Imagine two men. One follows every impulse, chasing after what is not his, mistaking pleasure for fulfillment. He feels powerful in the moment, but is left empty in the end. The other recognizes desire for what it is, a fleeting sensation that will pass. He remains unmoved, knowing that his strength comes not from taking, but from resisting. Which of these men is truly free? Which of these men can walk through the world without being controlled by his own urges? To crave what is forbidden is not a sign of fate, it is a sign of weakness. The wise man does not chase what is not his, because he knows that real power comes not from taking, but from self-restraint. He does not see another's wife as an opportunity, because he understands that anything gained through betrayal is never truly gained at all. Discipline is the foundation upon which all strength is built. Without it, a man is a slave, not to another but to himself. He is pulled in every direction by his impulses, unable to resist temptation, unable to say no to what his desires demand. He mistakes indulgence for freedom, failing to see that true power lies in self-control. A man who cannot govern himself is no different from a leaf caught in the wind, carried wherever external forces push him. It is easy to pursue pleasure. It is easy to chase after what looks appealing in the moment. The undisciplined man justifies his actions by saying he is only following his heart, only taking what life offers him. But this is not the way of a strong man. It is the way of a weak one. Strength is not measured by how much a man can take, but by how much he can resist. A beast follows its instincts without question. A man must rise above them. Temptation will always exist, but it has power only over those who have not mastered themselves. A married woman who shows interest in another man may seem like an invitation, a rare opportunity, a sign that fate is offering something special. But the disciplined mind does not fall for such illusions. It recognizes that what is gained easily is rarely worth having. A woman who is willing to betray her vows for you may just as easily betray you for another. A moment of pleasure, no matter how thrilling, is never worth a lifetime of regret. The man who lacks discipline will always justify his desires. He will say that he could not help himself, that the temptation was too strong, that the circumstances were beyond his control. But this is nothing more than an excuse, an admission of weakness. A man who truly understands his own mind does not blame the world for his actions. He takes responsibility for them. He does not see temptation as an unstoppable force, but as a challenge, a test of his own strength. To be ruled by desire is to live in a constant state of restlessness. The man who always chases pleasure will never be satisfied because he does not seek fulfillment, only distraction. He believes that if he can just have this one thing, this one woman, this one forbidden pleasure, then he will be content. But desire is never satisfied. Once one craving is fulfilled, another takes its place. The more a man indulges, the more he needs, until he is no longer in control of his own life. But the man of discipline understands a different truth. Peace comes not from chasing pleasure, but from mastering desire. He knows that what is tempting today will be meaningless tomorrow. He does not waste his energy on what does not belong to him, because he understands that true fulfillment is found in self-control, not in indulgence. He does not measure his strength by how much he can take from the world, but by how much he can resist. A disciplined man does not fear temptation, because he knows that he is stronger than it. He does not need to avoid situations or make excuses. He simply does not allow himself to be controlled by passing urges. He is not easily swayed, not easily deceived, not easily led astray. He walks through the world with clarity, seeing things as they truly are, unaffected by the illusions that trap weaker men. Imagine a warrior standing in battle. If he throws down his shield at the first sign of struggle, if he surrenders to the enemy because fighting is difficult, is he worthy of respect? No. Strength is found in endurance, in the ability to stand firm even when the enemy presses forward. The same is true of a man who faces temptation. If he falls at the first sign of desire, if he gives in simply because it is easy, he has lost the battle before it has even begun. But the man who holds his ground, who remains unmoved by the desires that control lesser men, he is the one who is truly strong. He does not seek out temptation, but when it comes, he is prepared. He knows that desire is nothing more than a passing storm, and that if he stands firm, it will pass. He does not need to prove his strength to others, because he has already proven it to himself. A life without discipline is a life without direction. The man who follows every impulse will always be at the mercy of his desires, never truly free. But the man who has mastered himself, who can look temptation in the eye and remain indifferent, he is the one who is truly in control. He does not chase what is not his, because he understands that real strength is not found in taking, but in resisting. Every action has a cost, though it may not always be immediately visible. The man who indulges in his impulses may believe he is gaining something, pleasure, excitement, a sense of conquest, but in reality, he is only borrowing against his own peace. What is taken in a moment of weakness is always repaid in suffering. The man who chases after what is not his, believing he has found something valuable, will soon discover that he has only invited destruction upon himself. It is easy to be blinded by desire. When a man sees another's wife, and she seems within reach, he does not think of the consequences, only the reward. He tells himself that this moment of pleasure will be worth it, that it is harmless, that he deserves it, but he is deceived. He forgets that every pleasure comes at a price, and that the debts of indulgence are always paid in full. The cost is not always immediate, nor is it always external. Some men think they can take what they want and walk away untouched, but the greatest wounds are often the ones that do not bleed. Guilt, shame, and regret may not appear at once, but they will come. A man may silence them for a while, convincing himself that what he did was justified, but deep down he knows the truth. He knows he has acted dishonorably. He knows he has taken what was not his to take, and no matter how much he tries to push these thoughts away, they will always be there, waiting in the quiet moments when he is left alone with himself. A man who betrays his own principles does not just damage others. He damages him. Every time he gives in to his impulses, he weakens his own character. He teaches himself that he is a man who cannot be trusted, even by himself. He may hide his actions from the world, but he cannot hide them from his own mind. He will always know what he has done, and he will always carry the weight of it. Some men believe they can escape consequences through secrecy. They tell themselves that as long as no one finds out, there is no harm done. But this is another deception. The harm is not just in being caught, it is in the act itself. The man who lies and sneaks, who must constantly watch his own back, who lives in fear of exposure, what kind of life is that? He may believe he is free, but he has made himself a prisoner, shackled by his own choices. Beyond the damage to himself, he must also consider the damage he causes to others. A wife who betrays her husband does not do so alone. She is encouraged, aided, and emboldened by the man who pursues her. He is not an innocent bystander. He is a willing participant in her disloyalty. And in doing so, he does not only betray another man, he betrays the very foundation of trust and commitment. He weakens the bonds that hold relationships together, spreading chaos in the pursuit of selfish pleasure. What does he gain in return? A fleeting moment, nothing more. The excitement that burns bright for a short time but leaves behind only ashes. And when it is over, what remains? A woman who was willing to betray her vows. A sense of victory that quickly turns to emptiness. A temporary pleasure that leads to lasting consequences. True wisdom lies in seeing beyond the immediate. A strong man does not ask, "What will I gain?" He asks, "What will this cost me?" He does not think only of the moment, but of the years that follow. He understands that what seems pleasurable today may bring suffering tomorrow, and that no temporary indulgence is worth sacrificing his integrity, his peace, and his honor. A man who values himself does not take what is not his, because he understands that true strength is not found in taking, but in restraint. He does not allow himself to be ruled by desire, because he knows that the cost of indulgence is always greater than the pleasure it brings. He does not waste his life chasing after what will only bring regret. Instead, he chooses discipline, self-respect, and the peace that comes from knowing he has acted with wisdom rather than weakness. No man who betrays himself can ever truly be happy. He may smile, he may laugh, he may pretend that he is free from consequence, but inside he knows the truth. He knows what he has lost, and he knows that it was never worth the price. The mind is the master of all things. A man who has not gained control over his own thoughts and emotions is like a ship without a rudder, tossed and turned by every wave of desire, every passing temptation. He believes he is making choices, but in reality he is simply reacting, pulled toward whatever pleases him in the moment, unable to resist, unable to stand firm. Such a man is not free. He is a slave, not to another person, but to his own impulse. True mastery is not found in indulgence, but in control. A man who cannot govern his own mind will always be at the mercy of the world. He will be swayed by temptation, distracted by pleasures, led astray by the illusion of something better. He will mistake impulse for destiny, believing that just because he desires something he must pursue it. But the disciplined man understands that not all desires are meant to be followed. He recognizes that just because something appears within reach does not mean it is worth taking. A woman who belongs to another may seem like an opportunity, a prize to be won, a secret pleasure to be enjoyed. The mind whispers excuses. She wants me. We are meant to be. This is different. But these are just illusions, tricks of a mind that has not yet been mastered. The wise man does not allow himself to be deceived by such thoughts. He sees them for what they are, passing urges, fleeting distractions, nothing more. He does not entertain them because he knows that to do so is to open the door to weakness. Emotional control is the key to a life of strength and stability. A man who can master his mind is unshaken by temptation. He does not struggle against desire because he does not give it power over him in the first place. He recognizes that feelings come and go, that temptation is temporary, and that his actions must be guided by principle, not by impulse. He does not see a married woman as an object of pursuit, because he understands that pursuing her would only bring dishonor to himself. To be ruled by emotions is to be constantly at war with one's self. The man who cannot control his thoughts will find himself tormented, desiring what is not his, envying what others have, chasing pleasures that bring only regret. He will be restless, never satisfied, never at peace. But the man who has mastered his mind walks through the world with clarity. He is not distracted by illusions, not fooled by false desires, not weakened by passing temptations. He sees the world as it is, not as his impulses would have him see it. This is the difference between strength and weakness. The weak man believes he must act on every desire, that resisting is too difficult, that he is helpless against temptation. But the strong man knows that discipline is the path to true freedom. He does not see restraint as a burden, but as a source of power. He understands that to give in to every impulse is to be controlled by them, and that real strength comes from the ability to remain unmoved. Imagine a man who trains his body, lifting heavy weights, running long distances, pushing himself to his limits. He does this not because it is easy, but because he knows that discipline builds strength. The same is true for the mind. A man who exercises control over his thoughts, who resists temptation, who refuses to be ruled by his emotions, he is training himself for a life of true power. He is building a fortress within himself, one that no temptation can break through. Some may say that it is natural to give in to desire, that it is part of being human, but what is natural is not always what is best. It is natural for a child to cry when he does not get what he wants. It is natural for a wild animal to act on instinct without thought of consequence. But a man is not a child, nor an animal. He has the ability to choose, to think, to govern himself. He is not bound by his impulses unless he allows himself to be. The one who masters his mind does not fear temptation because he understands it. He sees it for what it is, a momentary test, a passing thought, a whisper in the wind. He does not let it dictate his actions. He does not allow it to lead him astray. Instead, he remains firm, steady, unshaken, and because of this, he is free. True freedom is not found in the pursuit of every pleasure, but in the ability to walk away from them. The man who can master his own desires, who can look temptation in the face and remain indifferent, he is the one who has truly won. He does not need to take what is not his because he has something far greater, control over himself. A man's character is not determined by what he claims to believe, but by what he does when tested. It is easy to speak of virtue, to admire discipline in others, to acknowledge the importance of self-control, but when faced with temptation, many abandon these ideals and give in to their impulses. They justify their actions in the moment, convincing themselves that this time is different, that their feelings are too strong to resist, that they are somehow the exception to the rules they once respected. But a man's true strength is revealed not in words, but in his ability to act according to his principles, even when it is difficult. To be principled is to live by a code that does not change with circumstances. A man who is guided by values does not waver simply because a tempting opportunity presents itself. He does not betray his integrity for a fleeting pleasure, nor does he allow emotion to override his judgment. He understands that discipline is not something to be practiced only when it is easy. It is a way of life, a commitment to something greater than momentary satisfaction. Some believe that taking another man's wife is a sign of power, a conquest, proof of their desirability, but in reality it is the opposite. It is a sign of weakness, an inability to master oneself, a failure to resist what is easy. True power is found in self-restraint, in the ability to walk away from what is not yours, in the strength to remain firm when others would fall. The man who thinks himself powerful because he can take what he desires is no different from a thief who steals because he is too weak to earn his own fortune. Every decision a man makes shapes who he becomes. Each time he acts with discipline, he strengthens his character. Each time he gives in to weakness, he weakens himself. There is no action without consequence. A single betrayal, a single moment of indulgence can set a man on a path he never intended to walk. The man who convinces himself that a small compromise in his integrity is harmless will soon find himself making larger ones. Before he knows it, he is no longer the man he once was. His principles have eroded, and he has become ruled by desire rather than by reason. What is gained by pursuing another man's wife? A brief thrill, an illusion of victory, a moment of excitement. And what is lost? Honor, peace, trust, and the ability to look at oneself without shame. A man who betrays his principles for a fleeting pleasure will find that the pleasure disappears, but the consequences remain. The woman he chased will move on, the excitement will fade, and all that will be left is the knowledge that he gave up something valuable for something meaningless. It is not enough to know what is right. It is not enough to understand the dangers of indulgence. A man must act on this knowledge, must choose discipline over temptation, must live according to the principles he respects. He must hold himself to a higher standard, not because others demand it, but because he demands it of himself. This is what separates the strong from the weak. The weak man follows his impulses wherever they lead him. The strong man remains steady, unmoved by the distractions of the world, focused on something greater than immediate gratification. He understands that real fulfillment does not come from taking what is easy, but from mastering himself, from walking a path of integrity, from building a life based on principles rather than desires. A life lived without discipline is a life without direction. The man who is controlled by his impulses will always be at their mercy. He will chase after pleasures that leave him empty, make decisions that bring regret, and find himself lost, wondering why he never found peace. But the man who masters himself, who stands firm in his principles, who refuses to be swayed by temptation, he is the one who is truly strong, truly free, truly fulfilled. The test of character is not in the easy moments, but in the difficult ones. A man proves who he is by what he does when no one is watching, when no one will hold him accountable but himself. In these moments he must choose between discipline and indulgence, between strength and weakness, and in that choice he defines the man he becomes.